Hey guys, welcome to chapter 2 of math for the year. What we're going to be doing in chapter 2 is transformations. And a transformation is anything that moves a polygon or just two-dimensional figure along a plane. So we haven't really talked a lot about planes, but think about your x and y axis, coordinate planes, the little thing we're looking at right here. That's going to be a coordinate plane. So anything that moves a polygon from one side of it to another, turns it, flips it, it does anything to a polygon on, or just any two-dimensional figure on a plane is what we're going to be talking about. Again, those are called transformations. There's 4 specific types we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about translations, reflections, rotations, and dilations. Okay, so again, that's translations, reflections, rotations, and dilations. This week, we're just going to focus on a translation. Okay, so a translation, the first part we're going to go through is a transformation, remember, which is something where it moves it, in which a figure slides. Okay, so go ahead and type in slides right here. I'm getting a little more used to writing on this. So this might be a little better than week 1. Hopefully, I don't think it could get any worse. But every point of the figure moves the same distance in the same direction. I say I'm getting better than I do that. Distance and direction are those 2 words right there, though. Okay. So the biggest thing I want you to know about, I want you to look at, and go ahead and highlight these in your notes. Let me see if I have a little highlighters. It's kind of like highlighter. Highlight these in your notes. Are the pre-image? That's not a highlighter at all. Geez, let's see. Paste it in. Let's do this. Now it's a highlighter. Your pre-image, and then your image are the 2 things that we're looking at. So our pre-image is this little smiley face right here, this little guy looking all happy, and our image is this little guy. I don't know why they call it pre-image and image instead of like just image and post-image or whatever, but that's the smart math people that came up with this decided to call it a pre-image and an image. And a pre-image is what we start with, and an image is what we actually end with. Okay, so that's what we're finishing with. And then the transformation that's happening here is a slide. Okay. So a slide. So it's sliding from the bottom left down over here in this corner all the way up to the top right. The image itself doesn't change. You can still see it's a smiley face, the same size. The eyes are in the same place. The mouth's in the same place. The only thing that changed was it moved positions on the coordinate plane. It's an exact copy of itself. It's like if you cut this out on paper, took that paper, and slid it up, that's what would happen. And that's what we call it, a slide. Okay, but the math terminology that we're going to expect you guys to know is translation. So it's translation across the screen there. All right. The algebra rules, what it means by that is pretty much how you write this, are going to be x and y, which are your points on a coordinate plane. Remember, your x-axis is the axis right here. And your y-axis is the axis right here. Is the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. So x and y. Remember, you have points on those as well. Okay, x is going positive this way, negative this way. Y is going positive this way, negative this way. But whatever your x and y points are, you can add something to it to change the image. Okay, so our pre-image just be this little, oh gosh, that did not save those settings. So the pre-image will just be this part right here. How much it's sliding by would be whatever you're adding. And your post image would be whatever this value is. So x plus a, or y plus b. Okay. So if x is adding, if you're adding something to x, it's going to move right. If you think about this point right here, this would be about like -5, let's say, on the left eye. Okay, if we added to it, we added 10, let's say, it would go over this way. Okay. Same thing with y value. If you add 10 to this point right here, the y value to -5 will go to like +5, somewhere up here. Okay, then if you add to both, probably go that way. If you subtract from it, down here, you start out with your image, or your pre-image, excuse me. You subtract from it, you're actually going to go left on your x-axis. So if you started here and you subtracted 5, you go further this way. If you subtract your y value, you go down. Okay, so further down on this one. That was our starting image. All right, so when you open up your notes, they should look something like this on the other page. We're going to go through example 1, example 2, and example 3, and just walk through what a translation is, how to actually figure out the points and all that on there. So again, you're probably familiar with coordinate pairs right here, coordinate plane. If you're not, there's a ton of Khan Academy videos. Just look up graphing a coordinate or graphing on the coordinate plane or something like that, and you'll be able to get a refresher on that. If you don't know, it's really important that you do refresh yourself, because this is all, we're all going to be assuming that you know this stuff as we go through the notes. Okay, so the vertices of a square are A, 1, -2, B, 5, -2, C, 5, -6, and D, 1, -6. We have 4 points on a square. First says draw the figure. So the first thing we're going to do is draw the figure. I'm going to go over here, and I'll use nice dark red. And it says A is 1, -2. So you go over 1, go down 2. Oh gosh, that is way too thick. Let's see, 1, -2. Okay, that's better. B is 5, -2. So you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go down 2, just right here. C is 5, -6. So we're going to go over 5 again. Go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And D is 1, -6. So after you graph those, you should have a square. And if you have a ruler, it would be a good idea to use a ruler on this, just because you can actually get your lines a little straighter. All right, so it says in our notes, draw the figure in its image. So we have the pre-image right now. So we started with the image is going to be the figure after a translation of 4 units left and 6 units up. Okay, so it sounds pretty easy. We're just going to go 4 to the left and 6 up. The way we're going to do that is just count. So we start from here. I'm choosing a random point. And by the way, we should probably go back and label these. This is going to be A. Oops. This will be A right here. B, C, D. Looks more like a B. There we go. Okay. So again, we're going 4 units left, 6 units up. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see it just a little better. If we count over 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to have a point right here. And what we're going to label this is D with a little apostrophe next to it. That apostrophe means D prime. Okay, prime. So D prime is our new D point. That's on the image. Okay, we do the same thing with A. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're up here now. We'll label that A prime. B. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're here. B prime. And C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. C prime. Connect our dots. And you can see we have 2 squares that look pretty similar. Okay, if I had to guess, I would guess that they're congruent. They have the same size and same shape. Okay, so this one's 4 units tall. This one's 4 units tall. This one is 4 units wide. This one is 4 units wide. So both of our squares are in fact squares, that have the same size and shape. We didn't turn it. We didn't make it bigger. We didn't make it smaller. All we did was we moved it. Okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. We'll be able to see our pre-image, which were these points. So go ahead and fill in these points for your units down here. And so A would be 1, -2. Need to make that a lot smaller. 1, -2. B would be 5, -2. C would be 5, -6. And D would be 1, -6. All right. So our translation, what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through, and I'll make this this green because that's kind of what the dark blue, I guess, was what the color we're using for the translations there. And we're going to write out what we were actually doing to it. So we had our point 1 with our x point, and we were going to the left 4. If you remember back from the front page, if we're going to the left, we're actually going to have to subtract that from our x value. So our x value is going to be 1 minus 4. And our y value will be -2, because that's where we started with our pre-image. We're going 6 units up, so we're actually going to have to add 6. -2 plus 6. So our new point, if we do the math, 1 minus 4 would be -3. -2 plus 6 is +4. -3, 4. And what we can do is we can check that by looking over here on our graph. On our graph, our point at A is at 1, 2, 3, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, +4. So we're correct. All right, let's do the same thing for B. -5 minus 4, and then -2 plus 6. 5 minus 4 be +1. -2 plus 6 is +4. Okay. We can check that. Our B point is at +1, +4. So we're right. Okay, let's go through and do C and D as well. 5 minus 4, -6 plus 6 be 1, 0. And 1 minus 4, -6 plus 6. That'll be -3, 0. If we check those, 1, 0 is correct, and -3, 0 is also correct. All right, so that's how we graph a translation, if it tells us which way to do it. All right. Oops. Scroll down a little bit and do these. Example 2 should go by pretty quick. Tell whether each image is a translation. Remember, a translation is when a figure slides. It has to have the same distance for every point in the same direction. So we're pretty much coming up with the same figure afterwards. If you look at A is not a translation. There's different sizes in the pre-image and image. Okay. So that cannot be a translation. Number 2, if we look at these, this can also not be a translation. This would actually be a reflection because it's flipped over. Then number 3, the G's. Nothing happened to them besides they moved. So yes, this is a translation. All right, last thing, example 3. Graph each figure ABCD with vertices A, 1, -2, and you see the numbers, I don't have to read them to you. And it gives us the translation. We're adding to X and subtracting 2 from Y. So think through your heads as we're graphing this. What is that going to do? Is it going to move it right, left, down, or up? Okay. So let's go ahead and graph those. A, 1, -2. And we'll label that A. Okay, B 3, 1, or sorry, 3, -1. Okay, C 0, 3, and D -4, 1. Okay, and just make sure I did all those points right. 1, -2, 3, -1, 0, 3, and -4, 1. Yep, we're all correct on there. And I'll label this C and D. Okay, so without my ruler, my lines are going to be a little funky. That's okay. Oh gosh, that one's way too funky. Fine with a little bit of funkiness, but not that much. Nope, didn't get it. There we go. Okay, so what we're doing is we're translating it +2 with x and -2 with y. The easiest way I think to do this is to go over here because they give us the translation anyways and write it down on the left and right. Okay, so we're going to be doing x +2 and y -2. Okay, so our x value is for A is going to be 1, -2. Okay, B 3, -1. All I'm doing is copying these values up here, just straight down into our image because we were already given those. And D is -4, 1. All right, so those are our values, our pre-image values. When we translate it, what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 to all our x values. So our x value here is 1 + 2. So we're adding, and our y values we're subtracting 2. So -2 minus 2 more, and that'll give us our first image. Okay, so if we do 1 + 2, we'll have, I'll use another color for this, of 3. -2 minus 2 would be -4. Next one, we would do 3 + 2 and -1, oops, that's a 4. -1 minus 2. All right. So for this one, 3 + 2 is 5. And -1 minus 2 is -3. All right, so 5, -3. 0, 3 is our next point. So we're going to do 0 + 2, because remember the rule is adding 2 to every x value, and 3 minus 2. So this is 2, 1. And then our last one, point D, would be -4 + 2 and 1 minus 2. Okay, so looking on here, we're going to have -4 + 2 would be -2. 1 minus 2 would be -1. All right, so all we have to do now is just go over and graph our new points, A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. Remember, the prime just comes from the little apostrophe. All the apostrophe means is that it's the image, not the pre-image. That's what we're doing to it. So A is moving from here to 3, -4. Okay, that looks right as well, because let's scroll back over real quick. Get this thing. There we go. We're adding 2 to x, which means going right. Subtracting 2 from y, which means going down. So we added 2, went down. Added 2, subtracted 2. Okay, B prime is going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -3. Okay, now looks right as well. We're adding 2 and subtracting 2 from y. It's also up 1 and over 2 from a. So that looks right. I can label these as well. A prime and B prime. Okay, then our C value is going to be 2, 1. It's right here. Okay, we're adding 2 to x, subtracting 2 from y, so that looks right. And lastly, our D prime is going to be -2, -1. This also looks correct. We're adding 2 and subtracting 2. Okay, so let's try to get this. See if I can get it first time. And kind of. Okay, so my C to B value looks a little fatter on the the image because I just am bad at drawing. But if I was good at drawing, you would be able to see that this is the same two trapezoid kind of dealios that we're looking at on the pre-image and the image. Okay, the biggest thing with translations you have to remember is the algebraic nomenclature for it, I guess, the algebraic rules, how to use those. You have to be able to recognize translations. Remember that translations are not changing size. They're not changing the orientation of the figure. It's not flipping or turning at all. It's staying the same orientation. It's facing the same way, I guess you could say, and it's only moving. Okay, but it has to move. So a translation is just a slide. It's the first one we're doing. We'll get some practice for you this week on it as well. Thank you guys. Have a good week.